Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host, Flavia Barris, as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media, including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur. Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we get to speak with Dustin Heiner. He is an expert real estate investor who quit his job at 37 years old with financial freedom and passive income from his real estate investing. With his coaching, podcast, and YouTube channel, Master Passive Income, he has helped thousands of people to invest in real estate as well. He's also the founder of the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, where he brings thousands of real estate investors together to help them connect with each other and grow their investing businesses together. Welcome to the founder of Master Passive Income and the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, Dustin Heiner.
Flavia, thank you so much for having me on the show. Yeah, I love real estate. I started investing back in 2006. And really, it's not real estate itself, but it's what it affords me to do in my life. I love to travel. My wife and I, we have 5 kids now. We travel all over the world, but the real estate helps me to not have to work a job, a just over broke job is what I like to call it. And now I can go to the gym, hang out with my family, travel the world, and come on podcasts and talk to great people like you. So thank you so much for having me on.
Well, it's great to have you on. And I always have to apologize in a way to listeners when I have another real estate guest, because as listeners know, I myself work in the field of real estate. And so you would suspect that I'm a little bit biased towards real estate just from that involvement. But really, it's because our topic is lifestyle. Our topic is solopreneurship. We're talking about ways to earn an income and retain some flexibility in our lives. And real estate just lends itself so well to that endeavor that, yeah, we do end up with a lot of great real estate related guests, and you're one of them. So tell us a little bit about what your involvement in the world of real estate looks like and how you got there.
Yeah. So, well, I'll be at the very end where I'm at now, but then I'll jump back to the beginning real quick. So now I've got over, 30 some properties, single family homes that make me cash flow. That's what I invest for, not for appreciation, even though that's great. I invest for cash flow because I need to be able to feed my family. So I need to make money. And so I just bought property after property, started in 2006, buying properties. Now, so I have the 30 plus properties, single family homes. I've also got 2 large apartment complexes that I'm a general partner in. We have almost 800 units combined with all those. But I didn't start there. I started like most people. In fact, really what it came down to, we're all taught this exact same path in life. You go to school, you get good grades, and you take those good grades, you go to college or university, and then you get in thousands of dollars into debt, and then you get a piece of paper called a degree, and you go around and shop around to different companies and try to get a quote unquote career, working your entire life, 40 plus years, and then retire and live on 40% of what you managed to save that entire time working at JOB. Well, I'm doing that exact same thing. In fact, I get the most stable, secure job you could ever think of. I got a job working at a local county government doing technology in California. We know California is not going away. Technology and obviously government is definitely not going away. So I got the most stable, secure job. But I bought 1 rental property. And with that 1 rental property back in 2006, it started making me money and cash flow every single month. And I thought, oh my goodness, like this is amazing. The easiest money I've ever made. I need to be an investor. But what really happened is life started getting in the way. My wife and I started having kids. We had another business that we were running at the same time. And I was working a job. But this is what really, let me share a quick story with you of what really shoved me to become a real estate investor. So when my wife had our 4th child, I went on paternity leave. That's where the dad stays home with the mom, changes poopy diapers and all the good stuff and bonds with the baby. Well, I do that. And after about 2 weeks, I go back to work. And I go, and on a Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon, I get a call from my boss's secretary, the top dog. And she says, Dustin, would you please come to the office? I said, sure. And I hung up the phone. I paused for a second. I thought, why in the world are they calling me to the office? Like, this is not normal. And I've seen plenty of movies. Friday at 3:30 is not a good sign. So I started thinking, oh my goodness, am I getting laid off right now? And I really started racking my brain. I was like, oh, actually, before I went on paternity leave, there were some rumors that there were potentially layoffs in the county because there were budget issues. Well, I immediately shook it off. I said, there's no way. I've got great seniority here. I do a great job. So I get up and I start walking down the hallway to my boss's office. Well, this hallway is not very long. In fact, it's kind of short, but every single step that I took, it felt like the hallway got longer and longer and longer. And it felt like my feet became lead bricks because the weight of potentially losing my job was starting to crush down on me. Well, I get down the hallway and I turn the corner and I see my boss's door. His door's closed and I see his secretary there. Super sweet, nice old lady. And she says, Dustin, would you please have a seat? And she's kind of sheepishly grinning at me, trying to console me with her eyes because she knows everything about what's going on. I know nothing about what's going on. And I take my seat and I start thinking about my life. If I get laid off right now, did I just waste my life following this plan that somebody else told me? And I thought, oh my goodness, if I get laid off, does that make me a failure as a father? I got 4 kids. Does it make me a failure as a husband, as a man trying to provide for his family? Well, as I'm sitting there, my hands get all clammy. My forehead gets all sweaty because the nerves are just crushing me. Then the door to my boss's office opens up, and out walks a coworker of mine with a piece of paper in her hands. She's noticeably distraught, very upset, not necessarily crying, but you could tell her world's been rocked. And my boss ushers me into his office, and I get laid off. And remember, this is the government. Nobody gets fired or laid off from the government, but I did. And the reason why I tell the story is because I want you to learn the 2 lessons that I learned. So I take that layoff notice and I go back and I sit at my desk and I realize 2 things. Number 1, I need to be able to provide for my family. I need another job. So I was really blessed, praise the Lord, to find another job in the same county. A different department wasn't having those issues. Check, got that done. But sitting at a desk, the second thing I realized, I need to make sure this never, ever happens to me again. I need to make sure that nobody can take away my ability to feed my family. So right then and there, I said, no longer will I ever let life get in the way. I am now an investor. Now, it may so happen that 100% of my money comes from my job. That's now my part-time job. I'm a full-time investor. So fast forward the story. Started buying property after property after property, each one making me 400, 500, 600 or more dollars every single month in passive income. Eventually I had, I think, 20 properties. And I thought, my goodness, I'm losing money working here. Let me quit. So last quick part of the story. I went to my new boss, good boss and all. I said, I'm laying you off, jokingly. We both laughed. And he says, what are you going to do? I said, I own real estate that makes me money without working. So I don't need to do anything ever again. And the last quick part of the story, I would walk to and from my car to my job, 1.5 miles both ways every day. I've done it 1,000 times. Well, this last time walking to my car, I felt like I was walking on clouds because I knew I would never, ever need a job again because now I make money without working. That's why I love the term successfully unemployed, that now I found a way to make money to provide for my family and myself. Now, for you listening, what I want you to realize is that you are worth so much more than anybody could ever pay you. In fact, you'll know this because your boss is paying you just enough to keep you working without quitting, but not so much money it takes money out of their pocket. They paid you what you were worth, they would go broke. So instead, what Flavia and I both 100% believe in, real estate, businesses, side hustles, do other things outside of working for somebody else who can take your job. Now, that's the mindset shift that we need to have, is that realize that we need to start making money on our own and not be dependent on somebody else. So I'll pause the story because you probably got plenty of questions.
Well, yeah. And my job is really to think of all the questions that listeners might have and sort of funnel those in to ask you so that you can share with us the answers. And I'm sure that one question that comes to mind just from talking to lots of people over the years is a lot of people feel that investing in real estate is something that falls under the category of, oh, yes, something that you have to be extremely wealthy to get started in. That is what wealthy people do. They invest in real estate, but it's not for just an average normal person. So what would you say to sort of dispel that myth?
You know what? I'm glad you asked that question. So I've got my own podcast, YouTube channel, and all that stuff where I coach people how to do this stuff. And the most downloaded shows or YouTube videos is all about money. Like, how do we find the properties and how do we finance the properties? Because I didn't start with very much money. In fact, I was just a government employee. And so I know now at least 20 different ways to use creative financing. When I say creative financing, what that means is using other people's money or not working for 30 years, saving enough money just to buy one house with a down payment. There are so many other ways. And so for you listening, if you think, well, Dustin, I don't have money, I don't have credit, I don't have time, I don't have experience. Honestly, those are hindrances, but we can easily get over those. Let me give you a couple ideas. So with the 20 different ways that I've used creative financing, basically using other people's money or other access to capital. Give you a quick example of one. A lot of people might have a house that they own themselves. I'll give you an example of how this worked out. One of my students, his name's Benjamin. He's a pastor up in Sacramento. And he said, Dustin, I don't want to, I know I can't work forever. I want to start investing. And so I coached him. He didn't have any money because he's a pastor. They don't have much money. But what he did have, he bought a house in 2017. And I said, we can use your house, tap into the equity with a home equity line of credit, and then buy a house with it. So now this new house that you're buying, he bought one in Atlanta, Georgia. It's free and clear now because you use cash from your home. Then you pay that and bought the house. Then once he got it rented out, got it making cash flow, money coming in, he took that money, refinanced it out of that new property, and then paid off his home equity line of credit. Now he has it to do it all over again. That's just one example of, like I said, 20 different ways. It could be private money, borrowing from friends and family members. It could be hard money from institutions that have a little bit extra money. It could be subject to where you're taking over a really good interest rate, like a 2 or 3%. There's so many other ways. And so if you're thinking, man, Dustin, I don't have any money to invest, it's the hardest part. Honestly, that is the easiest part. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, coached thousands of people how to do this, that now I know that the money is the easiest part. You just need to know the options that are out there. What I love to do is I give all my students all the 20 plus options and then coach them through that process to get that money to then be able to buy real estate. Like another one quick one, because I want you to chime in. Another quick one is, let's say you have a 401k or an IRA. Well, you can now self-direct that, which means instead of just giving it to a mutual fund and just having it just die there, instead, you can self-direct that, which means you're now the one that's directing where that money is invested. And you can invest that into real estate. And then all that money you make in real estate goes back into your IRA. And then you have that for your retirement. There's so many ways. So financing, I want it hopefully drill in your head. If you think money is the problem, trust me, that is not the problem. We easily get over that.
And after the financing piece or the mindset around the financing, what is sort of the next challenge that people face when they are holding themselves back from exploring the world of real estate investing?
Let me give you the wrong way that I first did it back in 2006, and my property managers started stealing from me. And what it really was doing was I was following those, I don't know, in 2006, I was watching late night infomercials and they say, hey, we're coming to your town. We're real estate gurus. And so I went to their seminar. It's all hype, sales pitch, run to the back. It's, $30, $40, $50,000 for this program. Well, I got suckered into that. And my property manager started stealing from me because I didn't know what I was doing. And so after the money part, getting that passed in your brain, like that hurdle, once you realize, okay, that's not the problem. Well, the other problem is, how do we make sure we buy the right property? How do we make sure it's fixed up? How do we make sure we have somebody managing it? And how do we make sure we have a good tenant in there so that we can make money perpetually? And what I share is I learned the wrong way, but the right way is to build a business first. And that's why I love your show, talking about lifestyle. But in the end, real estate investors need to look at themselves not as an investor. We don't just throw our money in the stock market and just hope it goes up. No, we're business owners. And if you do it right, a business owner hires experts to do all that work for us that I was just sharing, how to find the right properties, fix them up, and get tenants and all that sort of stuff. Well, these experts, if we build the business first, they're going to make sure that we buy the right properties. In fact, this is what I teach all my students. What we do is we don't talk to realtors. They're like the last people. Who are the first people we talk to? It's our potential property managers. And so when we build the business, we find the number one person in our business is a property manager first. So I've had lots of students come in, and people, investors in general, saying, Dustin, I followed what those TikTok gurus said, and I bought a property and I couldn't find a property manager because every manager I called said they would not manage it because they get shot there. I'm like, oh no, then you no longer have an asset. You have a liability. Well, instead of calling property managers and say, I've already spent thousands of dollars to buy this property, spent thousands of dollars to fix up the property, and will you manage it? And they say no. And instead of doing that, you say, property manager, I'm looking to buy this property. Not I already bought it. Say, I want to buy this property. Tell me, how much will it rent for? What's the vacancy factor? What's the clientele like? What's the area like? If they tell you no, they won't manage it, then you don't waste your time and money and effort and pull your hair out buying a bad property. Instead, if they tell you, yes, that's a good property, this is how much it'll rent for. In fact, we have a property that's a block away. We were trying, Zillow said we can get $1,800 for it. We tried, we couldn't, we can only get $1,650. Well, that is expert information because they are the ones on the ground. So here's to answer your question, the next step after you know that financing is not the problem, the biggest thing that you need to do is build the business first, get all the experts that live there on the ground. In fact, I'll say this. I invest in 5 different states, and all my students, thousands of students now, we invest all over the country. I invest in Ohio, Texas, Arizona, Tennessee, and Indiana. And in all those places, I hire other people so that I can have my lifestyle where I don't work. In fact, a lot of people read the book, The 4-Hour Work Week, which the premise is make your life so you can only have to work 4 hours a week. I think working 4 hours a week is for suckers. I don't even want to work 4 hours a month. I maybe work 30 minutes a month on all my properties because I hire the experts and then I make sure that they're doing the work by getting management statements and then put it away and go back to playing with my kids and traveling the world. Because what I did was I built the business. That business has good inventory, meaning a property that other people will rent and pay me money for, and I make cash flow, $500, $600 or more every single month. And I have the experts make sure I buy the right properties. The experts fix up the properties properly. The experts finding the right tenants, and the experts always making sure it's making money so that I can go back to my family and travel the world. Does it all make sense?
It does. Let's talk about the risks too, because you mentioned there's the risk of picking the wrong team, hiring a property manager who steals from you. And if you're investing long distance, I think there's more of a risk because you're not boots on the ground yourself. You can't drive by. You're really relying on others. What are some ways to minimize some of these risks in real estate?
Yeah. So a lot of people think, let me jump first to the idea that real estate in general is risky. You know what I think is more risky? More risky than real estate, more risky than you buying something and hiring other people to do the work. What's more risky is having 100% of your income be dependent on an employer. An employer giving you a job that you're at their whim. They could lay you off and fire you at any time. In fact, my story hopefully helps you to realize that this was the government. Nobody gets fired or laid off from the government, but I did. And if it happened to me, it could happen to you. So that's number one. I think the most risky thing you could do is put your life in somebody else's hands. Now, once we get past that, what is more with the idea of like the people, for you listening, you might be thinking, well, I think it's risky investing in real estate because I'm not there. If it's out of state, how do I make sure that everything is going well? Now, here is how I do it. And this is what I said, coach thousands of people now. What we love to do is we build the business first, and then we make sure that we hire the experts. Let me give you a quick example. Before you buy a property, you build the business. Let me give you a quick example of what that looks like. So what you do, and this could be all over the country, invest all over the country. It should be out of state because you get better. Like if you're living in San Francisco or New York, on the coast, it's really expensive. But if you buy in the Midwest, those are fantastic cash flowing properties. But this is what it looks like. Let's say you're going to start a convenience store, candy bars and soda machines and all that good stuff. Well, you would not sign a lease on a location, open the doors and set a box of candy bars in there on the ground. You wouldn't do that. You go out of business in 2 seconds. But what you would do is you would build the business first. Those are all the gondolas. Those are the shelving units, all the candy bars going, the countertops, cold storage, bank accounts, cash registers, insurance, employees, everything in the business before you buy any inventory. Then once you have the business built, then you put the inventory in the business. Your real estate, you need to view it as inventory for your business that makes you money. And when you started that entire convenience store, you're not going to see somebody across the street and say, hey, you got a pulse? Come on in here, manage my money, manage my customers, manage my inventory, manage my business. You wouldn't do that. You would interview many different people, many different types, and find the best people. That's what we do in real estate. Remember, I said we need to stop looking at ourselves as investors, even though we do invest our money. We need to look at ourselves as business owners that build income. And so if you're going to be building a business, you need to find the right people. And they help make sure that they remove all the risks because they're experts. You want to make sure you hire them. But one quick last thing I definitely need to share. When you build a business, any business, you do not build a business hoping that the value goes up, like appreciation. When you build a business, you make sure that every single month or day you're making money. Let me give you a quick example of what that looks like. let's say you can buy a candy bar all day, every day. You know you can sell it for $1, and it only costs you 50 cents to borrow or to have that money to sell that candy bar for $1. Well, you're out of pocket 50 cents. You make 50 cents every single time you sell the candy bar. You'll be thinking, how do I buy more candy bars? This is going to be great. Same thing with real estate investing. We do not, though, buy a candy bar at $1 when we can only sell it for $1 and hope that we can sell it for $1.25 or $1.50 in 5 years. We don't do that. Same thing with real estate investing. We buy a property, making sure that it will rent out, meaning rent to our tenants. And then every single month, we make $500 a month or more in passive income or cash flow. That's on top of our expenses, even your property manager, even repairs, even your capital expenses, vacancy factor. And here's how I became financially independent. This is what I teach all my students, as well as having an amazing lifestyle that I have. If you buy one property at $500 a month, that is $6,000 a year without working. If you bought 10 properties at $500 a month, that's $5,000 a month without working. That's $60,000 a year. 20 properties is $120,000 a month, a year, and $10,000 a month. And you just scale it from there. Now I have 30 plus properties, and I have some properties making me $3,000 a month. And so when you're thinking about investing out of state or investing in general, in fact, I invest in my city where I live, I still hire the experts because I don't want to be an expert. In fact, we get on coaching calls with my students, and my students, they say, hey, Dustin, you invest in this area. You're the expert. Tell me all about it. I said, no. I'm not the expert. I hire expert. I might know a little bit, but I don't rely on what I know. I rely on the people who work there on the ground, and I hire them right, meaning I interview many people, many times, and I find the right ones that fit into my business to help me to make money. Does that all make sense?
It does all make sense. I mean, it makes sense in any kind of a business where you need to hire the right team. This show is called Lifestyle Solopreneur because a lot of people are solopreneurs in that they are the ones in charge of their business, and they're the ones sort of at the top and making these big overarching decisions like what is our brand or what is our mission. But at the end of the day, almost nobody can just wear all the hats. So even if you're a solopreneur, I'm sure you've hired a bookkeeper and someone to do some of your graphic design and someone to do some of your other operational work. And in real estate, I'm 100% in agreement with you. It is so important to have the right experts and the right team, everything from the right lenders and the right attorneys and the right property managers and the right people doing your accounting and doing your taxes. And let's not even get started with all of the tax benefits of real estate ownership compared to, some other ways to invest, let's say in stocks or bonds or other things that don't have some of these benefits. So you're preaching to the choir for me, but I'm glad people are listening into this conversation. Because there's a lot of people who they may have a financial picture, like think of it as a pie, and no slices of it are in the real estate bucket. And they've just focused everything on, and I hate to say this, like crypto would be not the best thing to have your whole pie in, but they're not diversified and they've never even explored real estate because it just sounds too complicated. So how do you break it down for people who feel it's too complicated? Tell us about your conference. Tell us about your academy. Tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, thank you. So I've, as best as I can, try to break it down to where anybody can understand it. In fact, I'll tell you this. My oldest daughter, she's 16 years old. She just bought her first rental property. Obviously, I coached her just like I coached all my other thousands of students. And if my daughter can do it, I know 100% that you can do it. But what I love to do, and my podcast, the Master Passive Income Podcast, I started in 2016. And it's just a solo show, basically, just me just teaching how I invest in real estate, how other people can invest in real estate and do this. And that's what I've been doing. And that's how I grew to have now a conference, hundreds and hundreds of investors coming together, thousands of students now, because all my goal is now, because I make my money through real estate, what I love is now I can serve people. The more people that I serve, the more money they make and the more money I make. And we all do better and better together. And actually, I want to actually break it down even easier for everybody. Flavia, would you mind if I just gave them my investing course completely for free?
Absolutely. That's a generous gift.
Awesome. My goal is to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. And hopefully you're one of them. Grab my course completely for free. If you text the word rental, RENTAL, rental to 33777. rental to 33777. I will give you my course completely for free, or you can go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. All one word, /free course. And I will absolutely show you how to find a property or build a company, a business anywhere in the country, how to make sure you're hiring experts, how to scale your business to be able to become financially independent and have a lifestyle that you can do whatever you want. But then also with the Master Passive Income podcast, I've been doing that for, oh goodness, since 2016. And it's just a solo show. Definitely check me out on there. I've had people just binge my entire show episode, like 400 plus episodes now, and say, Dustin, I invested just from listening to your podcast. I'm like, that's exactly why I have it. And then the conference, the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, I just thought, how much better would it be if we all get in the same room? Because I grow when I'm around other people. And I thought, let me just bring as many real estate investors together so that we could all help each other out and grow. So definitely check out the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. But one other quick last thing. I've been growing my Instagram pretty well. It's at 240,000 followers, and I did not buy any one of those. And I love chatting with people. So if you want to reach out to me on there, send me a DM on there. Tell me you found me on the Lifestyle Solopreneur podcast with Flavia, the Dustin Heiner. Dustin Heiner. And I'll reach out to. I just love helping people. That's my passion. And now, because I make my money through real estate, this is just fun for me to just help as many people as possible.
I love it. And we're also going to put the link to your free course in our podcast guest gift vaults. It's just podcastguestgift.com. We have all of the generous tools, freebies, and other offers from all of the guests on the podcast. They're all kept there as well. So different places to go. I suggest if you are someone who is not in the world of real estate, but you wish you were, I mean, Dustin, you're the guy for them. And I hope that they then wear the same t-shirt that I see you wearing, successfully unemployed. I think that's a great tagline, and I wish it for anyone who has that dream in front of them. So thank you so much for the education, the inspiration, and the motivation today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Flavia.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit lifestylesolopreneur.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness. But money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use a coupon code podcast, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.